It's Brian Preston, the money guy.
Now let's talk about the last decade. This is the 60s. And a lot of folks think, oh, it's retirement. It's the end of the journey. It's the culmination. It's the final point. We don't think this is new beginnings. This is the beginning of a new and exciting journey in your financial life.
I just had a comment this week says, hey, I just retired. I just got out of the Matrix, meaning that they made the equation. And by the way, I just showed this movie to my daughter from the 90s, Keanu Reeves, The Matrix. It is interesting that I think you could take that visualization, even that movie creates, is that this is the new beginning. And we've done a show recently. We even had a deliverable on it. If you go to moneyguy.com/resources, the Money Guide to Retirement. Yep. We talk about how do you do this well.
Love it.
This is the 9 steps to know that you're doing retirement right. Focus on this because this is the start of the golden age for you. You want to make sure you understand what you're getting into. And let's talk about what are the parts of your net worth statement that you ought to focus on. The first thing is assets.
Yeah, hopefully you're getting to the point where assets might be the only part of your net worth statement. Hopefully you've zeroed out the liabilities. So this is where you get to see, can I start executing on the plan that I've been putting together for the last 20, 30, 40 years?
Yeah, so this is the part, since we've created the plans, you better measure twice, cut once, get a full retirement plan analysis done so that you know exactly how successful you're going to be with what you've created. I also like the fact that this is the time where you get to celebrate that you've done it.
Yep.
You've lived like no one else previously. You've taken a little bit of your previous earlier years since you can have that great, big, beautiful tomorrow. Take advantage of that. And then, by the way, this is another big shift, cash reserves.
It's a huge one. That top piece of the assets column, it used to be okay to have 3 to 6 months, but once you do get into retirement, once you do get into financial independence, once you are living off of your assets, there's a shift. You probably do need to have 12 to 18 months of liquid cash available to you, and maybe even more in conservative, accessible, with minimal loss of principal assets. You want to make sure you have enough that no matter what the markets are doing, no matter what the economy is doing, you can still sleep at night and enjoy retirement.
Yeah, so that's why having excess liquidity is going to give you
Absolutely.
that peace of mind through that. So let's talk about footnotes. These are the risk management specific things that I want to focus on. This is probably the time in your 60s. I know it's taboo to have this conversation, but start letting the adult children know a little bit about what's going on with your financial life. If you can start that communication dialogue in your 60s, it's definitely going to be much easier than when you're in your 80s. So go ahead and start easing into that process.
Also, understand the difference in risk tolerance and risk capacity. Maybe you are an entrepreneur. Maybe you are a high-flying investor and you are super aggressive in your working years. Well, just because you can stomach that risk doesn't mean that in your 60s, you ought to be taking that risk. Your portfolio may not have the capacity for those wild fluctuations. So this might be the time that you do start to take some risk off the table, less because of your tolerance and more because of where you are in your financial life cycle.
And I'll say it simply is that it's not about the journey of just creating wealth. It's about keeping that wealth too. And that's why risk is such a big component of that. And a part of that, I'll say this is a risk, is withdrawal rates are too high. Maybe you are one of these people that you think, you know what? I'm going to have a withdrawal rate of like 8%. I mean, you could find that it's great while markets are doing well, but you could run into a sequence of return risk, meaning that you have a bear market on top of some other bad years that come with your investments, and it blows up your entire retirement plan. Be very careful to understanding how retirement withdrawal rates as well as Monte Carlo simulations and doing a full retirement plan all kind of work together. These are all tools that should give you a very successful financial independence journey.
All right, so let's talk about a spot check. How do you know if you're on track? Well, for median Americans, the average median income is about $52,500. The average median net worth is a little over $250,000. And to be an average accumulative wealth in your 60s, that income, you want to have about $341,000 saved up. However, financial mutants are a little bit different. Their average, their top 25% income of folks in their 60s make about $93,000 per year. The top 25% of net worth is about $772,000. But in our opinion, if you want to be at financial independence at 65, you want to have about 22 to 23 times your annual expenses saved up in retirement.
And this is probably, you know, something that people ask me about footnotes, specifically like Social Security, pensions. How does that work
Sure.
out with my withdrawals and my assets? Is, guys, take what those living expenses are, adjust those down for the Social Securities and the pensions. That's going to give you a much clearer picture on, is that 22 to 25 times living expenses actually covered by your
Absolutely.
assets. That's the best way to kind of think about it.
You know, I get so excited for New Year's, Brian, and I think the reason is because it is the closeout of one year. 2020 is certainly a year we're all happy to close out, but I'm excited to do my net worth statement. It's been a year where the market has performed pretty well. You know, we're going to kind of look at it and see what it looks like, and then it allows you to set goals for next year. If you're not out there tracking this, how can you possibly know if you are on the curve, ahead of the curve, behind the curve? It's a wonderful exercise to begin writing down your financial goals and tracking them in a year-over-year basis. And once you've done it for 5, 7, 10, 12, 15 years, it is so fun to look back on your journey.
Yeah, I mean, that's the part. As you get older, you do get more sentimental as memories blossom. We talk about that a lot. And I do love the fact that if you start the annual tradition of doing an annual net worth statement, guys, I'm telling you exactly what Bo said. You can do this with your spouse. You can do it. It might sound really hokey, but I'm telling you, it will be just incredibly fulfilling, enjoyable to see how far you've come. And you'll also find when you're looking at that net worth statement from 15, 20 years ago, you kind of get visualizations of what you were struggling with, where the kids were, what were the big things going on with your job that you thought, oh my goodness, this is going to blow up everything. And then you look back now and go, we made it. There's fulfillment. And that's the biggest part. Everybody always talks about, I want my money to make me happy. What they really are saying, they're not talking about happiness where they're covering just the basics. They're talking about fulfillment, meaning you know what your why is, and your money reflects that, because money's just a tool, guys. You're going to find if your goal is just to get a big pot of money, say you want to have 5 million, 10 million, 100 million, I don't care what your number is, you might find it's emptier than you planned if you don't have a purpose, if you don't have a why. So that's why if you'll go through these things, build a journey, you're going to find that you have wisdom. That's why I tell people, you build those levels of wealth, those stages of wealth, you build along a healthy journey and a healthy relationship with money. And that's what we're trying to create here with the Money Guy Show. You know, guys, if you like this and you're like, man, these guys give away a ton of information here. There's a lot packed in here. That's called the abundance cycle. We want you to come, we give it away. We want you to come learn, apply, grow, but you're going to reach a point of success. There will come a point of success. We're just planting seeds within you. We believe in you so much that we know a few years in the future, you're going to say, I remember those guys that loved on me, gave me the free information. I need a financial advisor. You're going to remember who planted those seeds. That's why it is the abundance cycle. Complete the drill. We work with people all across the country. Continue to subscribe. I mean, this is the start of 2021. We're excited to see what happens. I'm sure hoping this age is a heck of a lot better than what happened in 2020. I'm your host, Brian Preston. Mr. Bo Hanson, Money Guy team, out.